We're live. You introduce the program, Greg?
Good night to the Belizean people at home and abroad. Welcome to our 67th edition of Belizean Affairs. Sitting with me virtually as my co-host is the chairman of tonight's program, Mr. Leonard Brackett, followed by Mr. Roody. With that said, I will go to Mr. Roody for the reading of a prayer, followed by the chairman.
Pleasant good night to you, Greg and Leonard, and to our viewers and listeners, both at home and abroad. It's a pleasure, once more to be able to sit with you guys and sit with the public. And like you say, we always try to, utilize our time, very effectively. So I go straight to the reading, and I continue from Matthew 6:25 to 30. Says, therefore, I tell you, do not be anxious about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, nor about your body, what you will put on. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap, nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not more value than they? And which of you, by being anxious, can add a single hour to his span of life? And why are you anxious about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon, in all his glory, was not arrayed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which today is alive and tomorrow it's thrown into the oven, will he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? That's my reading.
Thank you, Mr. Wade.
Okay. I'll do the chart here. Just let me turn off this stuff in the background here that's disturbing. Divine loving Father, I thank thee for this privilege to come before thee once more, and to ask that thou mayest continue to have mercy upon us, that thou mayest continue to bless us and our family members, friends and loved ones, whatsoever they are. Please bless our country of Belize, its people and its leadership. Please bless those people who are being hurt for no justifiable reason. Please continue to provide guidance for us as we do this program tonight. May something that we say or do add to some positive outcome for our country of Belize. For we praise his mercies in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I thank you for your prayer, Mr. Brackett. With that said, today is Cultural Day, and we know that Garifuna holiday is coming up. So let's start our program.
Okay, gentlemen, you ready? 1, 2, 3.
ate no goya mer moya dena mama no goya mer moya dena palaba denaro tora nega banane lao mora gule ada ya familio palaba denaro tora nega banane lao mora gule ada ya familio ayano ayadena amana molena ayano ayadena amana molena debele ke no me wawa laubala baga lauba ke banda ke bekna ma laubala baga ai lauba ke banda ke bakna ma laubala baga hawa go namola no nare tamwa hawa go nidanwa nare tamwa debele ke no me wawa laubala baga ye lauba ke banda ke bakna ma laubala baga ai lauba ke banda ke bekna laubala baga lauba ke banda ke bekna laubala baga ai lauba ke banda ke
Uh, Greg,
That was nice music there, Greg. Thank you. Very nice.
uh,
Like that.
Again, it's
would
Cultural Day, and
would
to
you,
all
would
the
you,
people celebrating the
you have another piece to
holiday,
play, Greg?
yes,
Would you
I
play another
do.
piece? Go ahead now.
To all the people celebrating the holiday,
Yes.
please drive safely at home and have a wonderful weekend. Let's remember that alcohol does not go with driving, and we want everyone to be safe.
Good to have you now.
The two lovely renditions there in commemoration of our Garifuna brothers and sisters celebrating the upcoming 19th of this month in another couple of days. Uh, my name is Leonard Brackett, and I'm one of the panelists. Besides my cousin Gregory Brackett and Mr. Roody Wade, uh, I'm going to be the chairman for tonight's program. Friday, dealing with constitutional and legal matters. Of course, I'd like to anticipate or give an anticipation or heads up. The whole of the program for tonight will not be only about the Constitution. The first part will be on that subject, and thereafter we'll go with a free for all on just about any subject that any one of us would like to bring up or address. Uh, but to start with, let me just kick off the show, the legal and constitutional part of it for tonight. And I'd like to be able to read something that I put together here on May 27th of last year, 2022. I said, the following commentary citations in relation to the Constitution of Belize were made by Leonard Brackett for public benefit awareness, instigated that the Sea Smoke Variety Show program invitation and inquiries of me as a guest from San Francisco and hosted by Mr. G. Michael Reed in Belize and engineered by Mr. Clinton Young in New York. I titled the writing Belize Constitution Act is supreme law of Belize. Accepted citations by Leonard A. Brackett on the 27th of May of 2022 from the Belize Constitution, Cap 4, Part 1, Section 2, and Subsection 1, and Part 4, Section 36, Subsection 1 and 2, as well as 3, and Section 37, Subsection 1 and 2, and 4, and 6, as well as Part 4, Section 30, and 32, and 33, Subsection 2, and Section 34, Subsection 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the 2011 revision, Constitution revision. That's quite a bit of citations that I did there just now, but we will deal with those individually as we go along in the program. The overall title of the whole composition was Sovereign Powers of Ascension. We know in Belize that the powers of ascension is required for any government to be installed as the government of the day, whether it be PUP government or UDP government. After the general election, the winning party has to present itself to the Governor General to be sworn in, for them to take their oath of allegiance as well as their oath of service, and to be sworn in as the caretaking government of the country. So I titled this particular item, Sovereign Powers of Ascension, Executive Authority and Governance Accountability Empowerment. Part 1, page 16 of the Constitution says that the Constitution of Belize is the supreme law. Section 2, subsection 1 reads as follows. This Constitution is the supreme law of Belize, and if any other law is inconsistent with this Constitution, that other law, to the extent of the inconsistency shall be void. We all know that the Constitution of Belize stipulates that any other law, and when it refers to any other law, it is referring to laws that the Congress goes and make in the House of Representatives, many of which they have made recently and have been found wanting by the court when they go for judicial review or a case appears before the Supreme Court. Some of those laws have been struck down repeatedly, and these people, these legislators and the politicians, they don't get the same thing. That in order for their laws to be ruled as constitutional and appropriate, it has to be done within the bounds of the Constitution. They want to go and make laws that are anti-constitutional, outside of the bounds of the Constitution, and unconstitutional. And then they want those laws to be declared, especially by the new judges that they are now trying to bring into the country, because the government appears to make those laws. They want those laws to be ruled as constitutional. They don't want the previous Supreme Court justice that was sitting as a temporary holding over the position from the permanent or regular Supreme Court justice, even though she's a Belizean. Why? Because she's too steep, too knowledgeable, too competent in the understanding of the laws of the country and how they're supposed to be ruled upon. And she wouldn't take the shenanigans that these people are trying to pull off on us kindly or lightly. She would tell them where to go jump as far as what the laws require of them. If they want people who are malleable and compliant to help them violate the Constitution. They're on a mission right now to not only violate the Constitution, which they have been doing regularly, like I just stated, but to eviscerate the whole thing. They start off with this concept or the idea that, oh, they just want to inquire from the people whether or not the people want to have their constitution changed. When does any government just jump out of the blue and decide to ask the people what they want to have changed in their constitution if they don't have something as an agenda behind them back or in their pocket that they want to put forward, but they want to recruit the public to pretend like it's the public that's initiating these actions or attitudes or things, so that they could then get a opening to include in the Constitution what they couldn't put in there otherwise. Because like I previously said, even if all 100% of our legislators get together and make a law that is unconstitutional, the law is still unconstitutional. And it will be ruled as such by any judge that is worth their salt and understand what the Constitution actually stipulates. But we don't want them to get judges for us that will just rule according to how they want, because otherwise they can fire those judges or send them back to their country of origin. We have enough lawyers in Belize who are competent enough to act as judges on certain levels. So why don't give them an opportunity so that they can step up to the next level? But I'll read on. And I'll repeat for emphasis, because this is a short paragraph, but it's very critical in regards to how these guys are going to be stopped in their track from achieving what they're trying to achieve. Because to achieve what they're trying to achieve, they have to violate the Constitution in a massive way. And they can only do so after recruiting and bamboozling the public. And I'm just hoping and praying and working along with my colleagues here on this show to try and educate the public who does not spend enough time learning and knowing about their Constitution, to educate the public about what the Constitution says and how they can participate in this process to stop these people from destroying our current Constitution or eviscerate it. Because there's nothing seriously wrong with our present Constitution, other than the fact that these people want to accrue more powers to themselves that is currently out of their reach. And only by coming to the people and bamboozle the people can they reach the level where they can grab onto those powers. And after they grab those powers and they become ultimate power brokers in the country without any head of states other than themselves, then Belizean people gonna know how bad it go. I'll read on. Section 2 of our Constitution, subsection 1 reads as follows again. This Constitution is the supreme law of Belize. And if any other law, meaning any other law that is created by the legislator, which needs to be created within the Constitution, like I said, if any other law is inconsistent with this Constitution, that other law, okay, if all of them get together and decide to do it, shall, to the extent of the inconsistency, be null and void. And many other judges in the past, Chief Justice Conte, Chief Justice Benjamin, Judge Leal, Ms. Fenati, and many others have been ruling and telling the government that they are conducting themselves in unconstitutional ways and they need to remedy those. As a matter of fact, they have pointed out where the next part of the Constitution that follows immediately to this part that I just read, I read section 2, subsection 1. There's a subsection 2 that was put in there by the Borough administration for them to get or do what you call a power grab, to tell anyone reading the Constitution thereafter that the ultimate power lies in the Assembly. We do not have a Constitution that is supreme law of the land. According to them, according to Mr. Barrow, with the changes that he was trying to make, well, actually did make, but was unconstitutional, as was ruled by Judge Leal and others. And the part that he tried to put in under Section 69 that gives the authority and the means by which the legislator can make changes to the Constitution. Mr. Barrow had another part under 69, subsection 9, to empower themselves, stipulating that for all intents and purposes, it is all exhaustive that the legislature have acquired the authority to make any laws that they want, and that the Supreme Court should not be able to have any legal review of it. That of itself on the face is bold-faced, and was a travesty for that to have been done. And that is why I keep repeating these things over and over. We have had discussions about these things on many of our previous shows. It's coming up now again as part of tonight's program, because we see that these people are not willing to abide by the Constitution to which they swore allegiance and fidelity. And they're continuing with this charade to try and pretend that they're educating the general public so that they can get the public to agree with them to change the Constitution. Every time they go on, they do what they call an education campaign. How much of the Constitution anybody think that they are actually teaching? How many pages of the Constitution? The Constitution has 109 pages. In any of those discussions that they have, or educational campaign that they say they are doing, how much of the Constitution do you think they are teaching in those meetings? And how often do they go back and continue teaching those people additional things about the Constitution so that the people can become familiar with as much as possible of what is in the Constitution itself? They don't do that. They come by one community and they have a meeting and they invite everybody and they have some little shell game going on and they talk and blah, 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 and the time is expired and they go back home. They go to another community and they do the same thing. How much of the Constitution, the people that they talk to, the people are more educated about by the time they leave? And how often do they go back and add additional knowledge to the people? None, because it's not intended to succeed in that way. That is not what they're after. If people haven't learned enough about their constitution, and we're independent from 1981 till now, 40 odd years, they're not about to teach nobody the constitution in one night's education campaign. But that's what they want to pretend that they're doing, educating the people. And then they're going to come back to you and ask you, well, and then after they're done, talk with you for a few minutes, they'll ask you, and then what is it that you want to put into the constitution or take out? Fill out the survey, put down your name, your address, your age, your sex, your whatever, and we are do a survey and analyze the survey to determine, based on where the people say on the survey, how they want to go ahead and alter the constitution. After the constitution committee is disbanded, they will give the end report to Prime Minister. He won't go to cabinet, and before he go to cabinet, he will have to put it in some kind of form so that people, because they have some technical people that assist them in Mr. Usher's ministry, okay, who's the ministry that is responsible largely for the whole of this. So when that PCC is disbanded or comes to its end, they will turn over their report. But because they get disbanded, no means that the other committee and the other technical advisors and legal draftsmen and other people will be dispensed with. No, they will be held over under the minister's portfolio to assist the minister and cabinet in doing whatever they need to do to get it drafted out and worked out and played with for them to take it to cabinet, to cabinet for discussion. And cabinet, because of the majority people in cabinet already acceded to having the constitution changed, will go ahead and authorize a recommendation to the House for changing the constitution. And they'll go to the House with their supermajority and they'll vote in the House on whatever is it that the cabinet takes to them. Whether it was originally the same thing, the way how the PCC delivered to them, or whether there were changes. So long as the House finally makes that vote and approves it, the PCC is irrelevant and cannot come back and complain that, well, that wasn't what they gave or what they recommended, or there will be history by then. They will have no powers or authority or any means by which to address or redress any concerns, because the ultimate power then for voting lies in the legislature until they get the matter to a referendum, which is also required. But when they have a referendum, they never have a referendum with the whole constitution being detailed and for people to read and learn and understand what's in there, because after 40 years, they don't even know what's in the current one. How are they going to learn and understand and know what's going to be in the new one? But most people are not thinking on that level. They're not conscious that they're being played for suckers. All of us are. And it's not because these guys don't know better. That's just the game that they're playing. Once they go to the people for a referendum, what will be put to the people is not the whole constitution as a book for people to read through and decide to vote yes or no on each and every item or each and every section or each and every paragraph or each and every I'm trying to. Anyhow, I hope that I'm at least getting across the idea of what is it that's going to be happening, okay? The referendum will be on whether or not you want the constitution changed. It will not be on the detailed constitution. Nobody will have the chance to go back and say, okay, well, they don't approve this, or they don't agree with this, or they would have want this change or that change. That's not the option going to be presented to the general public in an election or in a referendum. It's going to be a yes or a no question and answer as regards to facilitating getting the draft people to put the constitution in a legal framework and to have people give the referendum authorization to have the changes occur. After that, people will then become aware that we have a new constitution that is pliable and adjustable for what they are intending to try and get done, which is to have Belize become a republic. And they will say, well, it's the people that wanted it so. It's the people that voted for it. Just like when we vote for the last referendum to the ICJ, they say, oh, it's the people that voted to go to the ICJ. They never tell us what all is in the ICJ thing, and they're not reporting to us as of today that we're talking. We are not any more knowledgeable or wiser about what's been going on or what's going on. We will not get no report. They come and tell us, oh, it's all secrecy. They can't tell us until after the whole thing is done. So I just want to go back to the original program instead of my blabbing off on side things. Let me stay focused. Part 1, page 16 of the Constitution. I did that already. Okay. Part 5, page number 49. It says the executive or executive authority. Section 36, 1 of the Constitution of Belize reads as follows. The executive authority of Belize is vested in, can anybody guess? The Prime Minister, I guess, huh? I bet you most people would say the Prime Minister. But that's not what the Constitution says. He would like to have the executive power vested in him. That's why they want us to become a republic, so we can elect them as our head of state, or one of them. And I know Mr. Barrow is sitting right now at the corner, and he know they make no waves right now either. He may go along with the program. Why? Because somehow he might think that he would make a good president one day in the future. So let the people take the flak for bastardizing the Constitution, for doing all the crazy stuff. But if it could work and they could get it done, he's looking forward to having his opportunity to not become only a prime minister in waiting, but a potential president for Belize Republic or Republic of Belize. Let me stick with the program. Okay. The executive authority of Belize is vested in His Majesty, I had it here, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Now we know she's dead because this was back when she was still alive when I wrote this. And now we know that that authority is being transferred to her heir, her son, who is now the king of the United Kingdom and Commonwealth of Great Britain. Subsection 2 says, to the provision of the Constitution, the executive authority of Belize may be exercised on behalf of Her Majesty or His Majesty by the Governor General, either directly or through officers subordinate to him or her. Government cabinet, for example, ministers. Subsection 3 reads as follows. Nothing in this section shall prevent the National Assembly from conferring functions on persons or authorities other than the Governor General. Section 37 of our Constitution, subsection 1, reads as follows. There shall be a Prime Minister of Belize who shall be appointed by who? By Mr. Bisenyo? No, they don't appoint themselves. Who shall be appointed by the Governor General. Subsection 2 reads as follows. Whenever the Governor General has occasion to appoint a Prime Minister, that is, after a general election, for example, he or she, the Governor General, shall appoint a member of the House of Representatives who is the leader of the political party which commands the support of the members of that house, meaning the majority. A word majority was missing out there, and it's not things like those is what I should be doing with the Constitution, right? Make it clearer. Not take out nothing from it. Or not put in nothing to it that's going to degrade or suppress the rights. Just go through the Constitution, clean it up, make it clearer, take out the offending parts that of the Constitution that the judges have already ruled on and said it's unconstitutional, clean those out, right? All those asides that they keep writing, and then later on they go try sticking it in the Constitution when the Constitution has a revision and pretend that it's valid law. Once those asides pass, then date of action, they become what you call stale dated laws. They should be removed from the books. They shouldn't continue in perpetuity, but that's what's happening in our present Constitution. And I keep complaining to them and pointing it out to them, and they play the fool like, who am I to point out things like this to them? And dismiss what I point out to them, only for them to go to the court and the court tell them the very same thing I did tell them before. That's why recently I've gotten into the habit of saying, I'm telling you so. Not because I want to be facetious or just funny or whatever, which is kind of funny too, because I take the time and the effort to learn these things and point them out. And then because I'm not a registered member of the bar, then tell me, well, I shouldn't be advocating these things so strenuously. Leave it to members of the bar for them to think about it and maybe put their neck out. No, but not I don't want to put out their neck because they don't want to be in contravention of any party that is governing the country at any given time. They want to leave shake at the money off of the tree. That is why they don't come to the public and do what we do right now, educate the public about these matters. They're not paying us to do it, but the lawyers want to get paid if they want to go represent the public or do anything as regards to this. But by them sitting aside, they allow these chacals and hyenas to mess with the Constitution, to mess with the country, and commit crimes against us, all because we don't got the money for pay them to go take care of we business for us. Nobody willing to jump up and do a lead pro bono or put the government in check or point out to the government, the members of the bar. They have, as members of the bar, they have what you call committee, which is to say they weigh out and get along together and they don't offend each other. And the Attorney General, in a big wig, the Bar Association, right? He's given a lot of deference. Even though the Supreme Court justice are the ones that actually should be allowed that kind of flexibility, right? They have the judiciary, legal judiciary committee as well. But when these matters need to be dealt with, everybody goes and scamper and go hide like roaches. None of them step forward and try advocate these things and clarify these things to the general public. We are in a crisis right now. We need those guys and girls or ladies or men to step forward and help the education campaign in this country. Even though the government not paying for it. Well, then they spend some money and they spend millions of dollars, but they're not paying no life to come provide the service. So we got to haul and pull effort together to try to provide the service. The people need to know. Subsection 30. There shall be a Governor General of Belize, who shall be a citizen of Belize, appointed by Her Majesty or His Majesty, and shall hold office during her or His Majesty's pleasure, and who shall be His or Her Majesty's representative in Belize. In this case, we have Governor General Mr. Lam, right? Who is occupying that position and who is acting in that capacity. Page 47, oath to be taken by Governor General. A person appointed to hold the office of Governor General shall, before entering upon the duties of that office, they shall take and subscribe to the oath of allegiance and office. Remember, I mentioned that a little earlier in the program? After they win the election, they have to go to the Governor General to be given the ascension of powers to govern. And as soon as they get that power assented to them and they become a cabinet and take over the governance of the country, they haul and pull in the very Governor General themselves. Why? Because they control the budget for the Governor General. They decide whether they get an increase in salary, then decide whether or not they get any additional legal support or guidance when it comes to legal interpretation of matters that are taken to the Governor General for ascension or for signing. The Governor General have to depend on the Attorney General, who actually, in most instances, from what I know of past Governor Generals, I mean, not Governor General, Attorney General, most of them have actually worked as personal lawyers to the prime ministers. They don't see themselves as having an independent portfolio that should be looking after the interests and well-being of the country in all its legal aspects. If the prime minister does or says or cause an effect, a negative effect to the country, those attorney generals, within their capacity, are able to also bring to the attention of the prime minister where he falls short. I've yet to see one of them do that. Well, the closest we came to that was the past governor, attorney general, who instead demitted the office because he could not countenance the dastardly conduct of the prime minister and other members of cabinet. So we came close to somebody at least putting their decency and honesty up front. But most of them, they work like if they are hired hands for the prime minister. Like the prime minister said, it appears that they know the assignment. Section 33 of the Constitution reads as follows. 33, subsection 2. The powers and authority of the Governor General shall not be abridged, altered, or in any way affected by the appointment of a deputy under this section, and subject to, it goes on, I put a 3 dot there because I didn't want to add all the rest of verbiage or words that was there. No, the Governor General. Then I proceeded to say the Governor General, acting in his or her own deliberate judgment. In other words, nobody should be able to question any of the decisions that the Governor General makes. In one part, I remember reading a part of the law that says that not even the court shall inquire into decisions made by the Governor General. In other words, he sits above the courts. Page 48, exercise of Governor General's functions. Section 34, subsection 1 reads as follows. The exercise of his or her functions, meaning the Governor General, shall act. In the exercise of his or her functions, the Governor General shall act in accordance with the advice of the Cabinet or a minister acting under the central authority of the Cabinet, except in cases where he or she is required by this Constitution or any other law to act in accordance with the advice of or after consultation with any person or authority other than the Cabinet, or in his or her own deliberate judgment. In other words, anything that the Governor General does, it always falls back on him or her as Governor General to have or to act in his or her own deliberate judgment. I really wish people would understand what those few words mean, because it does not mean that the Governor General is a figurehead like most people are being taught, even though sometimes some of them act as if they're fulfilling that role as figurehead. Now, right now, for example, as I've been saying before, the present Governor General does not have any independent, legal, constitutional minded staff to provide overview, review of legal matters that are taken for her ascension. Because if she did, I'm sure that those legal, constitutional legal scholars that would be advising her, other than the Attorney General or the consuls, who are not part of her staff, by the way, but she have to depend on them and hoping that they are providing proper legal guidance when they bring those things for her to sign. We on this program have pointed out instances where matters were signed that should not have been signed. For example, there's no reason or rationale or basis for the Governor General to have assented to having a lock, stock, and barrel complete constitutional overhaul, because to grant those kind of powers means that she is going beyond what is required of her to look after the interests as representing the head of state. She's in dereliction of her duty when she granted that authority to have a constitutional review commission, now being called a PCC, that is intent on derogating and basically trying to get the country to become a republic, which means that they have to commit sedition and overthrow the present government, not the government, the present head of state, in order for them to successfully achieve the issue of becoming a republic. And most people are not aware of those issues going on behind the scene. I'd like to read subsection 4. There's quite a bit more to be read, but I can't. Well, no, let me read subsection 4 quickly. Whereby this constitution, the Governor General is required to perform any function in accordance with the advice of or after consultation with any person or authority. The question whether the Governor General has so exercised that function shall not be inquired into by any court of law. I just made reference to that a little earlier, right? That I read this before, and here it is, right in our Constitution. Subsection 4. I'll read it again for emphasis. Whereby this Constitution, the Governor General is required to perform any functions in accordance with the advice of or after consultation with any person or authority. The question whether the Governor General has so exercised that function shall not be inquired into by any court of law. Remember I said that it appears that the Governor General sits above the law? This is one of those instances, clearly stipulated in our Constitution. Unless they can overthrow that kind of authority, commit sedition, this is something that they wouldn't like to be in the new Constitution that they're looking to create. Why? Because by the time they finish create that new Constitution, they are hoping that there will be no need for reference to a Governor General, because more likely than not, there will be a reference of a head of state, hopefully being someone elected at home by the Belizean people, rather than the present head of state the way we have it. Subsection 35, and that's getting close to the end, so I'll just go ahead and read it and get out of this. I've been on this, oh man, one three quarter of the program almost. Uh, page 49, Governor General to be informed concerning matters of government. Does anybody realize that the Prime Minister and the Cabinet, under the current Constitution, should be reporting to the Governor General on any governance affairs issue that the Governor General has an interest in or would like to know or get additional information about? It's right here in the Constitution. The Prime Minister, uh, that is under Section 34, 35 of our present Constitution. It says, the Prime Minister shall keep the Governor General fully informed concerning the general conduct of the government of Belize, and shall furnish the Governor General with such information as he or she may request with respect to any particular matter relating to the government of Belize. I classify this as a public domain and education information effort. So it's available to the public for people to go and find a copy of and do their own reading or research to see whether or not what was said is as it's supposed to be said in the Constitution and in the article. I took a lot more time than I thought I would have taken. I read a few pieces over and over, and without elaborating any further, I'd like to ask Gregory, would you care to make a 10-minute overview or comment, and then give Mr. Wade a 10-minute overview and comment, and then we go.
Mr. Chairman, I yield to Mr. Wade.
Okay, Mr. Wade, you could just
Yes.
whatever you want to comment.
Thank you, Leonard. You well said there on the matter of the Constitution and where the powers should be and who are the one that abusing the Constitution. I on the matter of overall, as far as the Constitution and the mission of this present People's United Party government, with the okay from the opposition, because we are the only one that coming to the public in this form, no? And it's a shame that the interest is not there. As for me, personally, like I've said previously, I see nothing wrong with our present Constitution.
Mhm.
I'll say it again, and the learned man, Mr. Bradley, had also said, they should be thinking about adding to the Constitution and fixing, tweaking, not the way they're going about doing it. But anyway, I think that the people by now are seeing what they're doing, and I know that most of the people in this country are seeing the way they are doing it, and some of them might know or see or have an idea about their mission, their agenda. We here on this platform has pointed out their agenda, but like I say, personally, they are the gross violators. This and past government are gross violators of our Constitution. I have said before a couple of things that I would like to see them add to our Constitution, like elected senator. I say it again, not appointed. Because again, these appointed senators have a hell of a lot of power in this country. And they're the ones that, responsible for our tax dollars, right? When I say that, yeah, about all the loans and everything that they want and all the borrowing, it goes through them. And they are all
Mhm.
part and parcel of the conniving of the illegal things that they do. They are part and parcel of it with no accountability. That's my thing. No accountability. And you have a financial secretary this country for decades now that find I think that it's time for him to go, right? Because he knows every
Where the
little line in that book,
where the
every little
skeletons
thing he knows all about the
where
skeletons
the
in it,
skeletons
right?
are, sir.
Exactly right. So it's only me who like him there. It's only me. I think that it's time after so much decades. I think it's time for him to go, right? And after he's gone, I hope that we pass UNCAC and he be investigated, right? That's only me, right? And like I say, we see the constant violation of the Constitution, the way this administration and past administration treat people, poor people, just because they know that they cannot pay for an attorney to take
Mhm.
them to court for the things that they do to them. For example, just today, I have a dear friend. I just put it out because it hurts. That got 4.3 acres in Armenia. But you know what? He he was an independent candidate in the past uh, uh, um, village council election, and he and the area representative and the people that the area representative brought to run that village, they had clashes. Now, he just got his grant, Fiat grant, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. And by the 10th of November, a few days ago, his Fiat grant was revoked. Right? Now, he got a letter from the lands commissioner, wherever that lands commissioner got the instruction from, right? But I'm just stating this because this is just another way that they are, you know, demoralizing poor Belizean, right? And this is another way to show you, well, you don't vote for me or you are against me, so this is what I'm going to do to you, right? And because if you cannot afford an
Politics and
attorney, you know
vindictive.
what's going to happen to you, right? So my advice to my friend in Armenia, you see, when I say because I know what's going on, I contested PUP convention twice for Kayo South, right? So I know exactly how these people operate. Now, shame on you, Mr. Area Representative for Kayo South, right? Because you are directly involved, right? Because people know, and people see, and people hear, and people talk for the things that you continue to do with people who are not in line with your all agenda. Like for instance, that thing, I'm ranting on this because it's so wrong what
Mr.
you guys have done to this individual in
Rick,
Armenia.
I hope I don't throw off your thoughts, but I just wanted to add something to what you're saying, sir. These guys are acting like a bunch of hyenas, like I keep saying, and there's no justifiable reason why they would have given that man his grant and then try to take it back. Because once they give it to you, it's because you have met the requirements to deserve it.
So I'm saying this publicly because it's real people involved, and it's so wrong, right? And yet You hear that they say at the end of this man commercial the other day, he want everybody to win, right? And he love everybody and all the good things he do for Belizeans and for our country and people, right? So I'll take 2 more minutes.
And how much land then they clear up for them people, and how much houses then they build for people.
I'll take 2 more minutes, right?
Go ahead, sir.
You have 90% of these PUP ministers, past and present, UDP ministers, past and present, that have thousands of acres.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking 100, thousands of acres, right?
I know some of them.
I know about, right? I talk what I don't know about, I talk so you could come back to me, right? But yet, you're going to do this to a man, a Belizean, hard-working man, right? Take away his 4.2 acres of land in Armenia village.
Somebody read the ayat of the man thing, Mr.
Right?
Mr. Wade.
So, but like I say, those that was involved in orchestrating that crime, because to me it's a crime. Remember karma, okay? Mm-hmm. And that what you did, you think that man is going to come and support you, Mr. PUP? You think because you know how that's stupid? You should have tried to help that man and buy his vote. I mean, I'm trying to solicit him because you're gonna need him, right, Mr. Kaya South representative, right? So I'm very upset about that. Not because he's a dear friend of mine, right? But it's so sad. And like I say, I don't say no more. Lastly, that this present government.
Mr. Wade, before you change to the next point, I want to go back right there when I say anything when I talk about the young man or the gentleman. What happened to him is something that keeps happening over and over and over in our country. I have dealt with dozens and dozens of situations like those. I've had to resolve some of them. I've had to go all the way up to the Prime Minister, Mr. Musa himself, and threaten to put him in public on some matters that he himself.
So I end by this.
I get the point. It happens first at the village council level. Somebody read the eye out of people's property, and then go to the village council leader and try us to see if they could pay them at least something, to see if they could influence the minister, to give them one work here, to go dispossess that person of their land, especially if it wasn't bought and owned outright, or that the government have some kind of leverage, which is what they're playing on right now. But for the fact that they gave that man his authority, his lease fiat, that lease fiat authority was binding. The man had qualified. He did what needed to have been done. He qualified, and somebody just read the eye out of the man land and want to take over the man development and move on with it. They're just greed.
So, like I say, that's so not right. You said it right there, Leonard. It's been somebody have their eyes on it, and he knows who it is. I know who it is, right? But I told him he should seek legal representation because
I don't for themselves they want it. They just want to sell it to somebody else so I then go make only money off it.
And not too long ago on a constitution reform committee meeting in Warring Creek, you hear the chairman talk about that common man and a situation nearly similar transaction land situation, right? Well, my people, that's a common man. Right, you hear what the chairman says about the common man. He might not have the money to find an attorney, right, or to help himself, right?
That's an example.
So, right, Mr. Chairman, I would like for you to enter that, you says that people should voice what they want to put in the Constitution. Put in the Constitution that these kinds of action need to stop. Period. S-T-O-P. Right? So that is all I got to say on that, and I thank you. I'm very upset about that, right? And I thank you. Pass it over back to you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, sir. And thank you very much for your contribution, Mr. Wade. Greg, you have something to contribute on that, or you want to Let us go to the
Yes,
next
I
item.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Wade, I will enlighten your friend as well as the public. When you acquire land, you go through a lease. After you have leased it for so many years, you go and you go back to land and you put in for a purchase price. Once that is approved, you survey. And then when you accomplish that, you are issued a fiat grant, meaning you are the owner. If they reject this man's grant that he has
I sent
achieved,
it to you. I sent it to you, Greg.
then
I sent it to you. I sent you the fiat and I sent you the
then
revocable letter, right? So he don't have a problem for us to hear
then
it, and I don't have a
the,
problem for you to hear it. If you
I
don't believe
know
what I'm saying,
you
right?
did, but what I am saying, and I want the public at home and abroad to understand, the Constitution gives one the right to have a piece of land and to own property. And if that right is being violated, Section 20 gives him judicial review. I'm saying this because
And
the
17.
government
And
passed
17 too.
a new legislation named Civil Assault and Unexplained Wealth. He will fall under
Doesn't
it.
apply here though. It doesn't apply here, Greg.
It
It's a
will
new law, but
apply
it will not
here.
apply here.
Listen to me.
Go ahead. Go
It
ahead.
will apply here for the government to show why they avoid his grant and who they are favoring it to that have not paid for lease, paid purchase price, and all that. That is unexplained wealth going to somebody else that have
But
not leased the land.
that's different. That is different.
It is not
Wait,
different.
wait. Where he needs to make his attack is on the process for judicial review as regards to justification for them revoking his fiat grant.
There is no
Yes.
justification. If you listen to me for a second, the government have the right to stop a lease. If the lease is not stopped and all the procedures was meant, then they are doing it illegally and in violation of the Constitution.
That's my point.
That's why under the new law, they will have to state who they have intention to turn that land over to unless they will use it for public interest. They cannot just stop his grant and award it to somebody else. That is
Yeah.
why there is a civil asset and unexplained wealth law that they pass.
But that is what they've been doing over and over and over
Well,
for
that
decades.
is why I'm expressing the law
decades.
to you.
I explained to you that I've dealt with some of those matters in the past, and that is the common practice. And they feel like they should be able to get away with it all the time. The problem is that, like Mr. Wade said, the young man might not have the resources to initiate one cause of action to get a judicial review in terms of why is it that his land, because it is his land. Once he got that fiat grant, that's a legal tender from the government. That government is under pressure. If they want to break that, they have to show justification for being able to break it. They just can't send out one rescinding letter or a revocation letter. Now that revocation letter has to have
As I
legal.
expressed to you, after this man was leasing, paid all his money, went through purchase price to where he got the grant.
Right.
It's
he met all the requirements.
Legally his.
Owner.
If the
we're both on the same
government
point.
want to take that away from him, they
It's a
must
hanky
pay
panky.
him redress. If they
Exactly.
want to give it to someone
Exactly.
else.
That's why I said under
Period.
section 20, under section 20 and section 17.
And
the government
Mr.
is
Wade,
barred.
and the
challenge
topic
command.
that you just bring up and what is happening to your friend, it's not only him, because with that said, let me play this piece of video.
the hypocrisy of the statements that they shared in the media and the hypocrisy in practice has to be challenged. And I'm here to not only reflect on their inaccuracies and misrepresentation of undermining the rights of marginalized population. I'm here to work with them to address the solutions. In that regard, if they're serious about a two-state solution and they're serious about the lives lost, they also can be serious about addressing anti-discrimination legislation in this country and championing properly for all and acknowledge the need for inclusive citizenship in this country. One of the sad things about this case is the inconsistencies or the fork-tongue practices we have, where the cabinet, on principle, did all these things to register their dissatisfaction of the killing of innocent people. Kudos to them. But they somehow forget their spine when it comes to addressing anti-discrimination issues that affect all their people. And somehow they forget their spine with regard, or their memory get lost when they forget that in Plan Belize, they have values of commitment that speaks to equality and gender equity. How does that work that you'll speak up on principle for Palestinians, rightly so, and you don't have a spine to speak about the development and quality of life of your citizen and ensuring that it's inclusion of all in your development plans? How does that work? I'm done at there.
I agree with him because that is what you was just speaking about, Mr. Wade. I said it before more than once. The government is discriminative and it's coming out more and more and more. It is a proven fact that they are a government that does not shed equality amongst all citizens. They pick the ones they want. They want to place some people above other people. They want to make certain laws to protect certain individuals in violation of the Constitution. It's all coming to light. So it is nothing new. I applaud the young man for saying that because he's not just speaking about himself, he's speaking about we the people. Stop discriminating, whoever it might be. You know, we are considered all Belizeans. You know, we need to really get down and look at what is happening in this country. You know, with that said, let me play a little piece of music before we continue.
Agamana mugabu mage kore bana mawo kore banya agamana mugabu mage mama kumara kunadare ka ko ide ta kubara muna da ide ta ko hayo mama look at the man when that come look at the eye that food nege tu mama nito ina mahayo madam nam baba madam kumare nam baba kumare madam nam ga madam nam ga madam kumare nam baba kumare madam nam ga madam kumare
Go ahead, Mr.
Welcome
Chairman.
back to the show, Mr. Chairman. You have the floor.
Greg, thank you
Go
very much.
ahead. You have the floor there, Chairman.
Yes, sir. Um, let's switch the topic to free for all. Any particular
Okay.
item, Greg?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Tonight is Constitutional Night, and I would like to speak about the Constitution in layman terms. We are here to try to educate the people because the government is not trying to educate the people on this Constitution reform. On past platform, I had mentioned that it took the Bahamas 8 years to revisit their Constitution, to rewrite it, and they still have not finished it, but instead they have strengthened it. Tonight, I'm here to say to the people at home and abroad, especially the ones in the diaspora, because it seems to be that they say the government had made a law and it says it has to include them so that they can mention their opinions. I want to be the first and not the last to say to you that come a referendum, you will not be able to take part in it. So all that will matter is your opinion. And I would hope that you will bring that pressure on the government to say before you continue with any constitution reform, you must first deal with our constitutional right, which is your inalienable right, the right to vote, the right to take part in an election. And until the government decides to do that, let's hold up the Constitution Reform Committee and the Constitution Act. Because as of now, this whole Constitution Act is non-binding, even though the government and the Attorney General is trying to make it seem as though, it is a binding law that has more power than the present Constitution and the Referendum Act. I will be the first to say this to you. Whatever the Prime Minister and the Attorney General speak about constitution reform, nothing that they try to mention about we going through it, there is no legality to it. And to prove it, I want to hear it from him personally.
And also, I know that there are a lot of different different groups that wanted to be in the commission, but we've already been at what 25 members, and if we continue taking more and more, it's going to be unwieldy. We'll not be able to do anything. Actually, I have wanted to cut down the numbers on the commission. You see, because it's important to point out that the commission is not going to decide what is going to be approved. They are just going to be the vessel for the process. They are going to be out there listening to the recommendations from different people. I want to assure everyone that you all have access to speak to the committee. You can put in writing your proposals, or can go and talk to the committee. At the end of the period, we hope that with 1 year, that we want them to be able to finish the consultations, and probably another 3 or 6 months at most to put their recommendations together. That has to go to a referendum. So it's not a matter of whatever they decide, or we from the government will decide what is going to be approved. The changes, it will go to referendum, and at the end of the day, it is the Belizean people that will have the final say.
Ladies and gentlemen, and people at home and abroad, you heard it from the Prime Minister. Let's hold him accountable. Let your vote be counted. People living in the diaspora, let him fix the 7th Amendment before there is any referendum. And also,
Sorry.
just to say this, when the Attorney General and the Prime Minister spoke about a referendum act in the People's Constitution Act, they were speaking out of context because it carries no legal binding. You heard it personally from his mouth. It will not be
Uh,
binding until there's a referendum, until it goes to the House and it gets assented by the GG. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
remember now, I went through in my first part of the process, I mentioned exactly how these jackals are planning to pull this thing off, right? They wrote this PCC Act, which we all know is not binding, other than the fact that they passed it in the legislature and gave it some authority within the government structure to be financed. But it's all a shell game. And like I said, the Prime Minister verified exactly what I have said before and what I was saying earlier before you played the tape. Because he is saying once the PCC goes out there and collect whatever information they collect, they're going to bring it back to him. And he is telling you and reminding you that what is in the PCC legislation says that after they submit that to him, they're disbanded. And that he and cabinet will decide what they want to put in order to submit to the House for the House to vote on, and then for them to have a referendum for the people to vote on. But he forget to tell the people or the public that in that legislation, there's a clause there that says if the legislator feels like it's substantive enough, whatever is in the report, that they can issue a referendum writ, get one from the Governor General, of course, because that's how it works, to have a referendum. So if it's not substantive enough, there may not be the need for a referendum because they are currently empowered to change the Constitution except for certain parts. And those are the parts that they really are after in wanting to change. They could modify the Constitution in a lot of different ways right now under the present powers that is vested in them. And which is why I think maybe one of the learned people among themselves figure out that, okay, well then, there might come a point when after this process goes on, they might not even need a referendum. So why go to the public and lose a referendum or let the public tell you they don't want the Constitution changed? Or why get the public involved in something where they don't really know nothing about? And then they're the legislator and get stuck in and then shocked and being able to implement what they're really after. They are currently empowered to make and change the laws. They didn't need a Constitution Review Commission or a PCC Commission to make any changes to the laws, because before that commission came into existence, they were making changes to the law. While that commission is undergoing its process, they are still going to the House and making laws. And after that commission get disbanded and having been used and misused as a flim-flam, they will continue to make the laws. And they will decide whether or not whatever they got from the commission through the Prime Minister, and that the Prime Minister is then trying to submit, as in Portico, for example, they might end up having to tear up the whole damn thing in the House like they did to Portico copy. Of course, they're not the original, they are tear up, a copy again, right? The same game, right? Because it won't fly. If it's not substantive enough, what they bring to the House, for them to deem it as worthy of having to send it to the plebiscite, they will not go to the plebiscite. They will just accept what got recommended, modify it.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, sir.
The government, the present government, and the Prime Minister, per his word, even with Section 5 number 22 of the People Constitution Act. It
Mhm.
has no power. So I would not stress on what you are explaining because it has to go to a referendum by the people per se his word.
Yes,
So I would not
Greg.
even do that.
Yes, but you have to explain to the people who are out there who do not understand these behind the scene intricacies, because these guys will get that thing to the point where the commission is disbanded after it makes its recommendation to the prime minister. The prime minister will take it, and I'm telling you that inside of the inside of the PCC Act, there are stipulations of law that says that the prime minister, can hold over the technical advisors and the technical draft people and all the technical people under the minister, under Mr. Osher's ministry, for them to go ahead and finish preparing the documentation the way they would want to have it. The prime minister just said that just now in his own words, just now when he was talking. He emphasized what I was already stipulating, because all I was doing was
Mr.
stipulating what they
Chairman,
have in the document.
Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, all I want to do is hold him accountable. And regardless of what he says, it cannot move forward until there is the stroke of the pen from the electors who will take part in a referendum. They could
The,
write it, rewrite it a million times. It cannot move forward
it's a shell
unless
game. It is a
we,
shell
the
game.
people, decide in a referendum.
Yes,
So
but we the
all the
people,
jump high,
Greg,
jump low.
let's take your point. Let's clarify your point to the public. In your referendum scenario, let's say they deem whatever is brought to them to the house, they deem it substantive enough to have a referendum on. What is it you think they're going to be sending for a referendum to the public? I
That's the
brought that up in
behind the
my original
scenery there.
presentation.
Greg, you're talking about the behind the scenery, right? That they will have they'll be cooking up the
Mr.
books.
Chairman, Section
What is it that they're
22,
going to?
Mr.
But anyway,
Chairman,
you have
Section
to,
5, number 22. Let's be real. Let the people at home and abroad know this. Because the
reality.
government have people teaching the fundamental rights to
Let's
try
not
to
go
get
there.
this
Let's not go
done.
all the way there, man. Let's stick on
Section
that one point.
5, Section 5 of the People Constitution Act number 22 is inconsistent with the present constitution. They
Yes,
do not have that power. It falls under national security.
that
And
is not
who protects national security? The
Greg.
people.
Greg, that is,
We the people via a referendum.
Greg.
Well, he said it, so
You're missing what I'm
Prime
saying there.
Minister said it, so
You're
let's see.
what I'm saying, and I'm going to repeat again for emphasis. A referendum is required if they're going to change the constitution wholesale. Punto y final, like the Spanish would say. End of the story. What's going on right now? There's no decision made yet as to whether or not there will be a referendum, any at all. It's a conditional proposition that they have in the people's in the PCC Act. But right there also, they're telling you that they may not need to have one if they deem that it's not substantive enough. If they deem that it is substantive enough, they will have a referendum. Let's say we get all the way there. My point to you right now in questioning you, what is it then that you're saying that they will have a referendum on? Is that going to be the
Let
volume?
me
Wait. Let me set the point. Are they going to have a referendum on the volume of material that is brought to them so that people could go through it and know what's in there, and if they're going to accept what's in there? Or are they going to come with yes and no answers, simple-minded questions to people to say, okay, well, do you want the constitution changed? You don't want it changed? Yes or no? 2 questions,
There goes
for
the
example.
ICJ. Similar thing with the ICJ. Similar thing.
But who is to tell
Similar.
what is in there?
Exactly.
You only
That's
find
my
out what
point
is in
too.
there after the fact. Maybe 42 years or 43 years after the constitution is in place again. When people have to go to court and they figure out and find out that, man, this is in there? We never know that. Right now, they don't know where they're in the present one. But they are bringing a referendum to the public if they deem it necessary.
Mr.
And the
Chairman, if I
referendum is going
may,
to ask us to do what?
Mr. Chairman, that is out of context.
Greg,
Do
we
we
all
have
know
a
that. Me and
present
you know that. We
constitution?
discuss this back and
Mr.
forward. Me and you
Chairman,
know
do
that.
we have a present
This is a
constitution?
public education process.
Do
We
we have
need
a
to
present
enlighten the public about what's going on. And the public
But I am telling
need to understand
you,
these
so the
intricacies.
public can be enlightened. They cannot pass the threshold
We know that.
because the structure of the Constitution protects itself. That
We
is
know that.
why they need the public as sovereign citizens.
We
They
also know that.
cannot get by it because we have a true, genuine constitution and a referendum act.
The public
Anything
doesn't
that
know that.
has to do with national security must come to the people, whether they like it or not. And they cannot come to, they must
Wasn't it,
come to the
Greg?
people.
Whether they like it or not, they have to come to us for a referendum. Did they come to us with a referendum
Exactly.
for Oceana? Did they come to us with a referendum for the marijuana? Did they come to us for... These guys are a bunch of shysters, I'm trying to remind you.
Exactly.
My point is that we're dealing with
Yeah.
what
But-
they put them on the paper and what we know they're supposed to do and not do. They know what they deal with. It's about how to
Look,
get
let
where they want to be.
let me say this to you, right? So the people
Go
at
ahead.
home and abroad can understand.
Uh-huh.
If they choose to go the route you are saying, then why have a reform of the Constitution when they could simply use their power and amend it?
That's the point.
They know they cannot do that.
Greg,
They know they cannot do that.
Greg, they don't want to amend the parts that they are currently empowered to amend. That's not their problem. Because they keep on messing with that and amending that over and over. That is not their problem. But that's what they try to give the general public the idea that, yes, they do need to, you know, then
it's a game. It's a game. It's a game. It's a game to get what they want, right? Listen, you see the length they went to go to the ICJ? The behind, I come to you, Leonard, that behind the scene operation they did, disenfranchise, like myself, they find a way to do it, right?
With the deal with scams and scoundrels.
So they got what they want. You see what they did on the revised law that already and they will protect the cameraman, the media, the police, the this and Pani in. What you say?
Snuck in for the real thing what they want.
Now the same thing is going to be done.
That's the name of the game.
Again, right? And mark my word, the last item will be yes or no. Do you want Belize to become a republic? You remember what I'm trying to tell you, right? Remember
That's
this. And the second one is going to be, do you want to get rid of the Governor General? Yes or no?
Yeah.
That's it right there, right?
Give it to them.
Mr. Weird.
Okay.
Because
Mr.
that is
Weird, with
really
all due respect, I'm a strong believer of the Constitution.
But there,
and I will say
look who we have it. Look who we have our Constitution. They are in the hands of who? They are in the hands of who? They are the gross violators of our Constitution, my brother. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Mr. Weir,
right?
My cousin is well aware of the word sedition. If Mr. Bacino's government intends to present to the Governor General for ascension any constitution reform without a referendum as mentioned by the piece of tape, then I can personally tell you It will not work.
I want to ask this one
Kira,
question before we close, right?
ask the
Listen.
question, sir.
Okay, the question is,
Very
do you
important.
think
Very
that these
important.
guys
So we
care?
are beyond. Wait, Mr. Wait, and Greg, we are beyond our limits long time ago.
Oh,
But
yeah,
it's
yeah.
a very important show, and I think we need to flag this thing while leave it in public interest, okay? Because these
Yes,
issues
Mr.
are current
Chairman.
events. Go ahead, Mr. Wade.
Go
Do
ahead,
you think,
Mr.
Greg?
Wade.
Do you think that these guys care? You see what they did? I can tell you again,
That's
Pastor.
my
You see
point.
what they did to get
That's
what
my
they
point.
want. You see what they did with snuck in their names, the and ministers and the end, right? And they use the public. The same thing they're doing again, using the public. You, Greg says, they use a yes, consultation for a yes.
Yes.
And the end, they're gonna put in what they want. The man said, the Briseno guy said, when the chairman come back to we, and that not guarantee where he come back with free paper and free list of things then that should do. That will not. They decide that he is the one that's going to decide what is going to be in that constitution. And who is there? You think the opposition is there to tell them no? Right? At the end of the day, where are they at?
But the
You think the governor general and tell him no? Who appointed governor general in theory, right? In real truth, the senior administration, the PUP administration, they don't only use the slang. Okay, she's appointed by the queen or the king. That's not true. In
But
one way, it's true, but they're the one that brought her in so that the governor general can be appointed by the queen. They brought her. That's the person they want.
Mr. Wade,
so they get it.
If the governor general was on top of her peace,
Think she gonna tell them no? You cannot turn Belize into a republic. You think she has? Anyway, I'll not say what I want to say.
Mr. Chairman and Mr. Wade, if I may, let me say this one thing, right?
Just give me a second. I'll give you the time. Just give me a second. Mr. Wade.
Yes, sir.
If the governor general knew what these guys were after, and she still went and assented for them to eviscerate the constitution or to change it, she would have known that they are already empowered to change it, but they're not empowered to eviscerate it.
You see what happened?
Simple, two things. Simple as that. But she went ahead and gave them the power. Well, then they hide behind right now to say that power is so valid because it was assented to by the governor general that they themselves can't manage the country because they can't give Oceana anything, but they negotiate with Oceana just in case in the future, if they want to go ahead and do any kind of oil drilling and so on, at that time, then they want to give Oceana one chance to come back and start all over again. Who fool were they dealing with?
Do you think Shine Barrow will come and say, we can't do that? No, he wants to be the president of this country too. The four of them that is there. So they are all in cahoot. Who will come and stop Briseno to get what he wants? The king, the queen, nobody will stop him. He got the super majority and the Shine guys right there with him. Because the hit or miss, you hit Briseno, you will catch him. Right?
I will say this, right? And I want to remind you guys as my virtual host and the people at home and abroad, the present government has a super majority to create any laws, but it bars them from tampering with the basic structure of the Constitution, which is Section 1 and Section 2, from number 3 through 19, which is the fundamental rights, which is protected by Section 20. Okay? Now, what I would say to the people...
Greg, do you think that the current Constitution bars them from committing sedition? Or getting rid of the... Wait. Do you think the present Constitution stopped them from getting rid of the Governor General? Or from getting rid of or taking out of the present Constitution anything that has to do with the head of state? Do you think they have any authority Even if Sharon go along with them and the rest of the UDP, all 31 of them get together and gang up and decide, we don't want no head of state. We are rebel against this
Right.
head of state.
But
And we
that's
want
why I was
writing
saying,
up a constitution that we don't have no head of state other than the one we elect. That's what the guys then they
but
after.
that's
And
why,
they agree with them.
Plain and
Salam-
simple.
Salam
Plain
Salam
and simple.
can be dismissed. She's serving at the pleasure of she's serving at the pleasure of the present king.
look, gentlemen, if I
She can
may,
be
right,
dismissed.
what I'm saying,
She's
right,
aiding and abetting sedition.
what I'm saying, gentlemen, if you heard what I was saying, we know all this. I will step aside and put that aside. Okay? I will go ahead and say it. I have no problem with the Constitution reform as long as you will not take out, you will strengthen it. Take out the section
Same
that the
here.
judge's rule was inconsistent.
To
I
them,
know Leonard feel the
Great.
same way
to
too.
them,
All right?
to these jackals that we are dealing with,
But
our perspective, yours, mine, Mr. Weird, and others that think like we, our perspective is irrelevant. We do not
Okay,
constitute
well,
a mass
you know
party.
what?
Wait,
Let's
we do
do
not
this.
constitute a mass party that could be a threat to them to vote them out and
Yeah,
let us get elected for us to be able to do what we know is right. So they're going to go ahead and do what they want, even though it's wrong, because
So
the opposition is right in lockstep with them.
so sad.
The
Gentlemen,
problem in Belize
okay,
is not the
let
only
me
the government,
say this.
it's the people too.
Gentlemen, if I may, let's
Go ahead, sir.
listen to the learned man, what he have to say. People at home and abroad, I want you to hear the same thing I'm saying, this learned man is saying. Let's strengthen our Constitution. We don't want nothing taken out.
And founded in a matter which nowadays the legal experts they call the doctrine of the basic structure, so that nobody can find the words separation of powers in the Constitution. Separation of powers is so crucial. The executive and the legislature, they interlap, they work with one another, but the judicial section of the Constitution and the country is entirely separate from the politicians and the bureaucrats and the ministers and the members of the House and Senate. There is a matter called the independence of the judiciary. And there's another thing called the rule of law. You'll not find those words in the Constitution, but those are the deep embedded principles of the Constitution of Belize, like they are in the Constitution of many democratic countries on the planet. You cannot, nobody can reduce, whittle away, make the Constitution weaker than it currently is. There have been attempts to interfere with the fundamental rights and freedoms in this country, and it didn't get very far. But deep down in the Constitution of Belize, you cannot interfere with the core issues, principles, and protections. And if I didn't say it, let me say it, that the preamble of the Constitution is an integral part of the Constitution. It is a part of the embedded basic structure that the people who brought this country to independence wanted their independent nation to be. So I come this morning to say to you that you can add and improve the preamble, but you can't take out anything that is in there. The preamble which really should read the preamble of the principles and values and morals and the features and objectives of the people of Belize. You should have those words, Chairman and members of the Commission. The preamble says, whereas the people of Belize affirm, Google affirm that the nation of Belize shall be founded upon principles which acknowledge the supremacy of God. You can't take that out of the Constitution. The long sentence goes on to say that
we're up against the time. We don't have enough time.
Gentlemen and people, you heard it. You heard it. Nice topic. We need to come back and finish this
next Friday.
Okay. So with that said, I would say good night to the people at home and abroad.
Hold on, Greg.
Greg.
Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Wade, 1 minute for you. 1 minute for you, Greg, and I'll take the last third minute for me to close off the show.
Well,
please, we take 1 minute, please. No more than 1 minute because we don't have the time left on the clock.
Yes.
And I cut the show off, and I don't want to truncate the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys for for such a very wonderful and educational show, and give thanks and praise to our viewers and listeners both at home and abroad. Thanks for your support. Thank you very much.
Could you read out some of them?
I am not seeing. I am not seeing on.
Greg, can you?
Greg could see. So I pass it over to Greg, and
we have three individuals. First one. Let me just show it. Good night, all. Thank you for tuning in. I guess that is Miss Rubina Forte. Then we have also Miss Lopez, greeting God and my beloved, blessing now and forevermore.
Thank you. God bless.
And we thank you all for tuning in to the show. Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Greg, for helping us to present such a wonderful program tonight, and the engineering behind. A lot of it on the fly without due notice or preparation, but it came out pretty good, and I must commend you and express our gratitude for your level of commitment and effort. Thank you to also, Mr. Wade, for your commitment and your
With that said, Mr. Chairman, and my minute, here we go. Good night to the people at home and abroad. Thank you for tuning in.
19th of November.
And I hope you will again on our 68th edition this coming Monday. Thanks again, and good night.
We want everybody. We want everybody. Give me some of your everybody. Give me some of that cassava. We want everybody. We want everybody. Give me some of your everybody. Give me some of that cassava.